purpose of this video, assuming that it works, is to aid all student presidents, officers, commissioners, and leaders in filling out the food fare packet, which includes a request form, a reimbursement form, and Form Cs. Food fare is one of the biggest opportunities for student clubs and organizations to raise money for activities, but the paperwork can often be very challenging, so let's get into it. This is the fundraising request form used to ask for permission to hold a fundraiser on campus. It specifically says food fare because this form is much more simplified compared to the actual fundraising request form. I'll probably go over another video on how to fill out that one. The second form here is the reimbursement form, and this one's much more complicated than all the rest of them because there's actually two ways to fill this form out. That can either be requesting a check and paying for goods based on what's in your account, or using your own money and requesting a reimbursement to pay yourself back. The final form is going to be the Form C, which gives students permission to leave class for food fare. Compared to the Form C I have in front of me, yours is likely different for two reasons. One, mine is printed on white paper, whereas yours is probably a different color. And two, mine has already been signed by my sponsoring teacher. Your sponsoring teacher is just your club advisor, so just get it signed by them and you're good to go. In terms of where to turn in each form in the food fare packet, the fundraising request form and the check request form are both going to be turned in Miss Yee's office. If you don't know where that is, here's a quick video. The Form C, on the other hand, isn't going to be turned into Miss Yee. It's going to be turned into Mr. Kilby's box in the leadership room. Here's a quick picture of that if you don't know where that is. If you walk into the leadership room and take a right, you'll see that wall, and you just turn it into the black basket where the arrow is pointed at right now. In terms of when each form in the food fare packet should be turned in, the fundraising request form should be turned in before food fare. The check request form can be turned in before or after food fare. If a club is requesting a school account check, then they'll turn in the check request form before food fare. But if a club is requesting a reimbursement, then the check request form will be turned in after food fare. The Form C should be turned in before food fare or on the day of food fare in Mr. Kilby's box in the leadership room. So I'm going to go through each one and try to give like a tutorial about how to fill it out. So the first one is the fundraising request form. You'll see it right here. And I'll go through it. I'll make cuts every now and then because this one's actually quite simple. So for group/club, I'll just make up my own. I'm going to call it Watermelon Club. And our club, we meet once every year to have a meeting where we just eat watermelon. It's a fictitious club that doesn't exist and probably never will. The date today is currently October 27, 2025. Advisor name, let's say my advisor is Mr. Kilby. And the event date, food fare, this year is on November 7th, 2025. The purpose of event, you can just say raise money for club activities. And right here, it's already filled out for you, food fare, because this is for the fundraising request form solely for food fare. What food fare items will your clubs be selling? This one's quite obvious. This is the food that you'll be selling at food fare. And then list club officers. Normally, there's about 5 club officers in each club. Here, you're only required to list 3, so you can just choose whichever ones you want. Include the president name, though, because that's the most important one. Selling price per individual item. This will be how much you're selling your item for at food fare, so your selling price. Upfront total cost per individual item. This is the cost of whatever your item is, and then per unit. So if I'm buying 50 watermelons, what's the price of one single watermelon? Estimated profit per item. Just subtract 2 from 1. So 3 minus 2 is $1. Estimated number of items to be sold. Let's just say I'm selling 50. And then total estimated fundraiser profit multiplied 3 times 4. So $1 times 50 is $50. And you can fill out this part if any items were donated to your club for food fare. Normally that isn't the case, but it can happen. And you can leave this section blank where it asks for the principal's and activity director's signature. All you need is your advisor's signature. So let's just print my advisor's name, Mr. Kilby. And let's say he's going to sign this in a couple of days. And then I have his signature right here. That's his actual signature. Cool. The second one is the reimbursement form, and this is the one students have the most trouble with because, like I said previously, this form has 2 ways to be completed. Before I actually fill out the form, because there's 2 ways, I want to specify what are the 2 methods so you guys can understand which option is the best for your club. So I've made this small paper to summarize the different fundraiser payment methods you can do. The first option will be to request a school account check, which is using money that is in your account to pay for the goods that you're going to sell at food fare. The second option would be to pay out of pocket and to get a reimbursement later on once you've gotten a profit from the goods that you've sold at food fare. Before we get into the different fundraiser payment methods, I think it's important that you know that every single club or organization on campus receives a school account once it's approved. Whether or not there's $0 or $1,000 within that account, there's still going to be an account that exists which you can put money into to pay for different events. However, I want to note that your school account is not a bank account because you can always deposit cash or a check into your account, but you can never withdraw. This means that you can't go up to any adult in the office and ask, can I take $50 out of my school account? Because you can't withdraw money. The only time you can take money from your account is through these payment methods. And if you're wondering how much money is in your account, you can always ask Miss Yee, and you can do this by asking her in person by visiting her office or by emailing her. Okay, let's go over the different payment methods. The first one is requesting a school account check. This is usually done by really big clubs or organizations like Poly, Haka, or Key Club. And the reason why is you have to have money in your account for your check. Most clubs on campus probably don't have that much money, but really big ones like Poly and Haka do have a lot of money because they've been around for a very long time. And you have to have money in your account because that is what you are using to pay for the goods that you are selling at food fare. Another important point is that because you're requesting a check and it takes time for Miss Yee to process the paperwork, you should fill out this form and turn it in at least 1 week before the actual event. In this case, it would be food fare, but this is the case for all school events. The establishment that you're ordering from also has to be able to print mock receipts because you're stapling these mock receipts to your forms, and mock receipts are basically fake receipts with your predicted order. And once you receive the check, you're going to use that to pay for the goods. But this also means that the establishment that you're ordering from has to take checks for you to use this method. So you have to make sure you have money in your account. You have to make sure that you fill out this form about a week prior to the event. You have to make sure that the establishment you're ordering from, let's say I'm ordering from Raising Cane's, they have to be able to print mock receipts. And the way you do that is by asking them if they do. And they have to be able to take checks. Method is a lot of work, but the benefit is none of your club officers or you have to pay your own money. You're using your club or organization's money. If you're a smaller club that doesn't have any type of money in your account, you can pay out of pocket and request a reimbursement. But this is open to any club. If a bigger club wanted to request a reimbursement, they definitely could. But if you're a club without money in your account, you must choose this option. When purchasing your own goods, you must use your own money to buy them. Once you sell everything, your revenue will go into your school account. And then you can request a reimbursement using the same check request form that I showed earlier. And this can be done anytime after the event, as long as you have the receipt that you used to buy everything. So one method allows you to use your school account's money, but requires your establishment to print mock receipts, as well as taking checks, while the second method requires you to pay out of pocket, but gives you a little bit more freedom. So I'm going to go over how to fill out each reimbursement form using the different methods that I showed you guys. I'm going to first show you guys how to request a school account check first. And if you're going to use this method, make sure that the establishment you're ordering from accepts mock receipts, because you're going to need to staple a mock receipt to the reimbursement form so the controller can verify that what you put down on the form is actually accurate. So this is the form. It's going to ask you the name of your ASB account to be charged. I'm just going to put mine down as an example, but keep in mind this is supposed to be your club or organization. Right here, it's going to ask for your account number. Every single club and organization has an account number. Date of request is the day that you're going to be turning the form in. So I'll say October 28th, 2025. And you're always going to say check request. Whether you're paying out of pocket or requesting a school account check, you're always going to say check request, because that is how you're paying the establishment or repaying yourself. When it's asking check made payable to, you're going to write down the establishment because you're using a check to pay for all your goods. So in this example, I'm going to write down Walmart because I know Walmart takes checks. And then the check is going to be written out to Walmart so I can use it to pay for all my watermelons. You can put mail to vendor, which means that the check will be mailed to you, or you can put it in your advisor's mailbox, which means that the controller will put the check in your advisor's mailbox. But I personally like to write down delivered to student because it's the fastest method and it's actually what Miss E prefers. And then you can write down the president's name, and then the controller will deliver the check to that student sometime throughout school hours. Right here is the description of what you're ordering. This should match perfectly with whatever your mock receipt says. So if I'm buying 50 watermelons, I'm going to write 50, and then I'm going to write a description. So let's say I'm buying medium green watermelons. Like I said in my last form, the unit price is going to be $2, and then the total price is going to be $100 because 50 times 2 is 100. This means that the subtotal is going to be $100, and the total tax amount is going to be whatever your mock receipt says. So let's say in this situation, I'm paying $1.03. S&H is shipping and handling. I don't imagine that many of you guys will have to deal with that because you're going to your establishment to pay for whatever good you're buying. So here I can just write down $0. And this means that my total is going to be $101.03. And then whoever your advisor is, make sure you get their signature. And make sure these numbers match up with whatever your mock receipt says. You're going to take your paper, and I don't have a real mock receipt with me. It's just an example. But I'm going to staple a mock receipt to this form, and I'm going to turn this into Miss D, who is in the office. Okay, now let's go over the method that most clubs will be using, which is paying out of pocket and requesting a reimbursement later on. I have another blank reimbursement form because the method you're choosing will change how you fill out the paperwork. So this beginning part is fairly the same. You'll write down your account number, date of request. You're going to always check off check request, like I said before. You can ignore everything else. And then this is the part that's going to change, check payable to. Because you're using your own money to pay for your goods, you want to reimburse yourself. You want to use the money in your account and pay yourself back. So you have two options here. You can write the check out to yourself and pay yourself back if you have a bank account. But most students don't have a bank account, so they write down their parents' name. So the check is written out to their parents who can actually use it. And since most students don't have a bank account, I'm just going to do it that way. So I would write down my parents' name. And it's important that you also write your name because there might be multiple students with a parent whose name came to win. So I would write my name as well. And this gives the controller an easier time finding me to deliver the check to me if they need to do that. But if you want the check written out to your name because you have a bank account, then you can just exclude your parents' name and just write your name only. And then we're back in the same area, mail to vendor, put in an advisor's box. I personally like to always say delivered to student because it's faster and it's what the controller prefers. And the bottom part goes fairly the same way. You would just write 50 medium green watermelons. And here's the important distinction. You're turning in this form after you paid for everything and after the event is complete. Because once the event is complete, it's assumed that your club will make money and that there's money in your account now, which you need to take out to pay back yourself and club officers who contributed to buying all the goods. You have a real receipt that you got after you purchased everything. You don't have to ask for a mock receipt because you already have the real receipt, which you got. So you staple the real receipt to this paper, and then you're going to turn this into the controller, or Miss E. Okay, now let's go over how to complete the Form C. First, you're going to scan this QR code and then fill out the Google form that it takes you to. And then you're going to write your name. And then you're going to write your grade level. And then you're going to write your student ID. And then for this bottom part, you're going to fill it out based on whatever your schedule is. You'll notice that my second period is blank because I'm able to leave during second period to help set up a food fair. But you also likely say something like you can leave 15 minutes before class ends, in which case you don't need a teacher to actually sign that. You can just ask them to leave and then you'll be able to leave 15 minutes before class ends. You'll circle whatever period you're going to be missing. So for me, I have lunch during third period. And then I'm going to need to get a signature for 4th and 5th period because I have minis. And then the last step is to get your sponsoring teacher signature, which once again is your club advisor. It's important to note that you'll get 5 club officers can be out during both lunches, but only 1 officer can be out during 4th period to watch the table, meaning that the 4 other officers have to go back to class during that time. Other than that, we finished the food fair packet. I hope this video was helpful in some way. And if you find that you're still having trouble, you can definitely message one of the club commissioners for help. All right, thank you.